What's up guys, this is Miasin, and today we'll be checking the results from the YCS in China, so Guangzhou or something, my bad for the pronunciation, as well as this, I guess, championship series, whatever, in Aichi. I think this was in Japan, I'm not 100% sure. So I'll start actually with the China one, just because it's, I mean, not really the most recent one. I think this was, yeah, both were the exact same day, but this one had, I mean, almost 2,400 players. And it was actually very interesting because obviously, just like in Japan, it is a best out of one, at least for, you know, the big events. 8 rounds of Swiss only, and if you get 2 losses, you're out. So yeah, that's, wait, hold on a second. Or maybe you get, like, you're out after you get 2 losses, I'm not 100% sure. And then it is top 64, so you really don't want to lose. And this means that you got to play a deck that is extremely good in game 1. And a deck that just sacks people, where you don't really have to be afraid of side deck cards, because again, there's no side deck cards, so obviously the format is much different. Anyways, before we go any further, you already know the drill. Smash the like and the subscribe button. It really motivates me a lot to keep breathing, and with that being said, let's get right into it. So again, 2,348 players, that is crazy, and it was won by the 60 card Malice deck, which I'm not 100% sure how it managed to get this far, because the deck does have some consistency issues. Just in case you don't know what it does, in the OCG, I think they have 2 grass. So the goal is to activate it, mail like 20 cards, whatever. You mail Fairy Tale Snow and a bunch of Malice monsters, and then you go Fairy Tale Snow, banish the Malice, and then you basically full combo using just your graveyard, which is very interesting. So even if you draw like nothing of value, it's still fine. And obviously grass is unfair going second. Like, your opponent has to ash it if he has it. And I guess it's an extra consistency card, but since you're playing 60 cards in your deck, you really have to play some weird ratios. You gotta play more starters in your deck. It's just a little weird. You also have to play more Bestials, because now you really want to at least have the ability to, like, go, you know, normal summon Cheshire Cat to make the Link Decoder, and then banish the Cheshire Cat for a Bestial, and then it comes back, you make the Red Ransom, and then you pretty much full combo from there. I've showcased this in my Malice spreadsheet video, but yeah. This deck could also exist in the TCG. It could make sense, because we do have 1 copy of that Grass Looks Greener, but I'm not sure it will ever be a thing. I don't know. Maybe, but we also have we do not have Fairy Tale Snow. So even then, like, the OCG, they have this deck like 5 times better than in the TCG, and even then it's not even that popular. Anyway, second and third was Malice. Okay, yeah, I mean, sure, that just means that Ryzeal is dominating completely, because there was no Ryzeal in the top 4. Again, the reason why Ryzeal is so good isn't really because of its ceiling level. The ceiling level of Ryzeal is fine, it's actually pretty high, but it's rather just because of its adaptability, because it also has some consistency issues. Well, maybe not in the OCG, but some people don't even max out on starters, which I'm really confused. But yeah, I guess your board can be picked apart by certain decks that are like basically built to just destroy you. And Tenpai Dragon is one of those decks, just because they can main deck Ultimate Slayer. Obviously, they never lose the dice roll, because they just make you go first, and then they break your board in 2 seconds. As a matter of fact, I would actually argue that Tenpai Dragon is almost better than it was before, now, post-ban list. Like, Tenpai almost got a huge boost. Even though, like, Chandra and Kaiman went to 1, now that the format is really just Ryzeal and Malice, it's so easy to beat them when everybody is so predictable, everybody's playing the same list. I don't even think people are playing correctly either. So, and also, like, even in the TCG, like, the innovation of the Ryzeal Fiendsmith deck, I actually think that this deck kind of sucks. But yeah, Tenpai Dragon is definitely like a top tier deck. This deck is probably gonna be doing a lot more in the TCG now, if people actually understand that the deck is gonna change in a drastic way. Anyway, some more interesting decks. So we have, Malice again, another lawn mowing deck. And we've got Crystron in the top 8, but no deck list, unfortunately, so we can't really see what it looks like. I really wish that we had access to everything, but no, and I don't really think that there's a source for the deck list either, like, you know, the Twitter post and everything, but we do have the identity of the player. I clearly can understand what this means. And the fact that it was Crystron, so yeah, I had access to the live stream before, but there's no, like, player where you can actually go back and check games that already occurred. You couldn't really do that on the live stream, so I can't really go back on it and see what the Crystron player looked like if he was on feature match, because the only feature match that I saw was, like, I don't even know, actually, I already forgot, but Ryzeal, okay, Fiendsmith, Sky Striker, Tenpai Dragon, yeah, again, this is the kind of deck that we already saw in the TCG, and I think we're going to see more of it. Because again, the 10 by Dragon engine, it's not going anywhere. It's still broken because every card in the engine other than Fajra is still a 1-card OTK. The only difference is that now your grind game is worse. So if you fail an OTK with Tenpai, the next time you OTK, it's either going to be a little clunky and very vulnerable to hand traps because you don't have the same options anymore. Like your Chandra is gone, so you have to like special summon the Genroku, not use the effect, and actually synchro summon with the Genroku, which is a little weird. There's other ways of OTKing now in 10 by Dragon, which is very interesting. The Sky Striker engine is absurd. I will be making an in-depth video on that engine very soon, by the way, so stay tuned. And the Fiendsmith engine has absolutely zero synergy with Sky Striker and Tenpai, but I understand why it's there. It's because, well, first of all, it makes your going first much better, and I actually think that this might almost be like a going first deck, but you still want to go second with a deck like this, and you can OTK your opponent very easily with like 1 card or something with the Fiendsmith engine. I think Moon of the Close Sky is already an OTK because of, you know, the Lacrima that burns 12, and then Agnum Day that equips and everything. It's a lot of damage, and also you do it on the battle phase. So yeah, if your opponent bricks, and yeah, and he's facing like this deck, yeah, the game's pretty much over. Like, this will absolutely kill you with literally any engine card. Like, even one single Widow Anchor is OTK going second through, like, billions of interruptions, potentially, depending on what they are, obviously. But, yeah, it's really scary. Okay, this is the first Ryzeal, actually, in the top 16, which is very traumatizing. Only 2 Ryzeal and a lot of Malice. 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, so twice as many Malice than Ryzeal, and then we have obviously a few decks that we had no idea. Oh, sorry, there was actually a 3rd Ryzeal. Never mind, actually. 4 Malice to 3 Ryzeal. Okay, it's not even like a massacre or anything. And obviously this isn't like the biggest sample size, it's not that representative, but still, like 3 Malice out of 4 in the top 4 is definitely something crazy. Yeah, you would at least expect like Ryzeal to be in the finals, but nope. Anyways, this is what the 60 card Malice deck list that actually won the YCS looks like. Again, you have to play 3 Allure, and then you gotta max out on pretty much every single name. I don't understand how Shishira Cat is only being played at 2 when every single name matters, and obviously you gotta max out on the Bestials, as I said. Literally, 1 Lubellion, 1 of each of the other ones, and 3 Saronir. He's playing every single Bestial that you can play, and no regained just because with the Lubellion, really just searching like a Bestial so that you can banish like your own Malice monster. So I really understand when you can only play 1 Lubellion, there's really no purpose in playing regained. I really am confused as to how Fairy Tail Snow can be a 3 in the OCG and obviously 0 in the TCG. Like, this card absolutely has to get banned. I really don't care. But yeah, this is a pretty insane deck list. Not a lot of hand traps. So again, very confusing how it managed to go this far. 4, 6, 8, 10, only 13 hand traps and 60 cards. Obviously 13 is technically a big number, but when it's a 60 card deck, you got it pretty much divided by 1.5. And then I guess there are some board breakers, like obviously triple tactic thrust searching lawn mowing is kind of scary, because if you break on too many non-engine cards, then thrust can technically get you to your engine that way. So the goal of this deck is to be kind of like a hybrid between board breakers and hand traps. And then again, the exact same configuration of cross out and call by the grave as everyone else, as we have 5, 7, 9 board breakers. So when you add it up with the 13 hand traps, that translates to what, 22 non-engine cards and 60. Yeah, that's actually good, if anything. So yeah, I guess this deck has to have a consistency issue, just because you have like 6 good Malice monsters with 4 field spells, 1, 3, yeah, exactly. So we had 10 instant 1-card starters, and everything else is just like, you pray to God that things go your way. And I really do not understand what the heck is Foolish Burial doing in here. Like, what are you sending? Like a Bestial, a Malice, so that your Bestials can do something? Okay, sure, that's just another 2-card combo, but whatever. Because you can easily draw, like, Foolish and a Malice monster, and I don't, like, a Shishir Cat, and I don't think it's doing too much. Obviously, you can Foolish the Dotscaper, but even then, it's not, like, that great. But then again, you can argue that Foolish Burial plus Shishir Cat kind of still gets you there, because then you can make Haggard Lizardos and then banish the Shishir Cat, you make the Link whatever, no, not even, you make the Red Ransom, and then you search the field spell, and then you banish the Dormouse from the deck, and then banish the White Rabbit. There are some ways of getting your stuff going, even when you don't draw any of these 10 cards, but whatever, I don't really believe in it. I'm not like a big fan of it, but it can work. Okay, the 40 card, very standard Malice deck list. There's like no way you can really have an edge over your opponents when you're playing something as basic as this, because everybody's basically just playing the exact same hand traps. You know, it's 3, 5, 8, 10, 13, 16 hand traps with 2 Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse, pretty good card. But like I said, even in the TCG, I don't really believe in it anymore. It's really bad against Malice as well. It doesn't beat Ryzeal Detonator just because of Twins of the Eclipse. I've explained this infinite times, like every single time on every single one of my videos. But again, I will keep explaining this. I will keep making videos where I just have to put the emphasis on the fact that Twins of the Eclipse really does change everything. But yeah, I don't know. It's still a good card though. Another Malice deck list, this time main decking Nibiru, which is very bold of this player to do. Main decking Nibiru in a best out of 1 format, so if you play against like Tenpai Dragon, then that's even less cards in your hand. So again, another reason why Tenpai Dragon is so good when you can't even side for them, and again, they always win the dice roll pretty much because they were trying to go second anyways, and you just draw a lot of useless cards, like even Max C is useless, so honestly, pretty much all of your non-engine just does nothing against Tenpai, and Tenpai only needs like 1 card to kill you. And then the rest can be like hand traps and board breakers. And I think something that we're starting to see more often is a hybrid version of hand traps and board breakers. But sometimes we just see only board breakers, and sometimes the board breakers are, mixed with the Molchamis, and sometimes there's also no Molchamis, sometimes there's only Dominus Impulse and Imperm, so that you don't lose to Talent and Thrust and stuff like that. Not that it really matters, because it's not like people can really thrust into D-Barrier. Either way, D-Barrier kind of sucks against Tenpai. You can definitely OTK through D-Barrier. It doesn't really change anything. All you gotta do is have the Princess, Raging Phoenix, and Zealantis combo, and you're pretty much just gonna win the game there. So yeah, Tenpai, obviously an extremely good deck. Again, you can cut 2 Kaimens, and the deck is still insanely consistent. So even in the TCG, the deck is, I want to say, top 3 best decks of the format. Maybe it's like the 3rd best deck after Ryzeal and Malice. I'm not 100% sure. Another Malice deck list, but this time, whatever, main decking Gamma and Delta. Again, not something that I really like too much. 1 Allure of Darkness, or it really just goes to show that the limitation of Allure from the balance that we saw yesterday is an absolute joke. Lawn Mowing Despia, okay. Okay, practically no hand traps, so if you're playing against like an FTK deck, not that it really exists, you lose, but you're playing so many board breakers that it's kind of fine, 3 Thrust, 3 Clips, 2 Droplet, the 1 of Evenly for the Thrust. Overall, this is a pretty nice deck list to look at, but I don't really have the balls to play something like this personally in a best out of 1. But obviously, if you Gimmick Puppet Nightmare Lock your opponent, then it doesn't matter. You win the game anyways. Okay, yeah, and you know what? Actually, the website was updated, and we do have access to the Crystron deck list. 3 Sofnir and 2 Sophet Hole. Okay, interesting ratio. 1 Theisvern. Oh, that is interesting. Wow, we're not seeing Prassyordle and Rosenix anymore. 3 Tristalos, very interesting. The card does nothing on its own. The Citri, that you kind of just need 2 Tidal, okay, even though you can play 3. No Magnamut to search it. 2 Nibiru, 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Maxis, 2 Veilers, a Droll, and 3 Imperm. Yeah, that's a lot of hand traps. 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 15. 15 hand traps and 2 Droplet. So that's 17 non-engines. And he's still playing the 2 Called by the Graves and I guess the Prosperity. So yeah, that's kind of like 19 non-engine, and the Prosperity can overlap, so you can kind of round it up to like 20. And then a lot of engine cards, but very interesting that we're not seeing Prassyordle and Rosenix. And yeah, no other like splashable cards in the deck either. It's really just pure Crystron, which again, I mean, I'm looking at this, and yeah, I don't really have any complaints. It's an interesting deck list for sure. 2 Quarion Gondrax is a little confusing to look at because you can loop it by shuffling it back with the cluster. And also, the card is a little hard to summon. You do need 2 level 2 tuners and a level 5 monster to make it, since obviously he's not playing Rosenix and Rion. And I really have no idea what the heck this rank 5 or rank 6 or whatever monster is. It can't be a rank 6 because you can only really make rank 5s using Sofnir and Sophet Hole. The Makaba, for when people nib you on the Nova. There is a combo where you summon either Nova on summon number 5 or Infinity in summon number 5. There's a bunch of different lines. The Amatrix as the only level 5 synchro. Obviously, every other level 7s, I understand their utility and ratios here. Yeah, everything else makes a lot of sense. This is, again, a well-built deck list, probably piloted by someone who had to know what he was doing, because yeah, it's really hard to play something like this in a 2,400 player event with honestly a lot of diversity, a lot of different decks, and know exactly how to counter the field and win when there's only one game. There, it's not a best out of 3, so you don't have like a side deck there to carry you. So again, very nicely done to this player. That's absolutely beautiful to look at. Crystron getting top 8 at almost a 2,400 player event is definitely something that a lot of players, myself included, can appreciate. Okay, Fiendsmith, Sky Striker, Tenpai Dragon. This was the very spicy deck list that we kind of already knew. Not only I knew this was gonna exist one day or another. Obviously, this is one of like the best ways to play the deck when there's only one Chandra. And again, in the TCG, there's only one Kaiman as well. Now that it really changes anything, it just makes your grind game worse. But the deck is still ultra, mega, extremely super consistent. Like almost every engine card here is a one-card OTK. Like I said, Engage, Hornet because you make Kagari Crash, Surgican Roku effect, Special Summon, and then attack, Quick Sync, whatever. Not a lot of Synchro monsters, so Kashtira Unicorn against this deck is terrifying. But if you don't play hand traps, they don't play into Unicorn, and Unicorn is not a thing in the OCG, so you don't have to respect Unicorn, but in the TCG you do, so the best way to mitigate that is by playing board breakers instead of hand traps. But again, this is kind of like a hybrid of hand traps and board breakers. So yeah, we're seeing like, I don't even know how many non-engine cards that is, like 30 or something stupid. Okay, 2, 3, 6, 9, 11, 13... I'm not going to count the engage and everything. 15, 16, 17, 18, 21. Okay, 21 non-engine. And then there's I guess, 4 Widow Anchors. So you can round it up to like 28 cards that are actually very good going second. The Hornet Drones is more of like an engine card. So yeah, that's absolutely terrifying. Wow, you're going to draw a lot of these cards and then you're also going to draw like one starter, pretty much 1 to 2 starters every hand. I guess the one drawback is when you draw like let's say a combination of all of your normal summons like the Pydra, the Luri, and the Lacrima, but whatever, they're just one up, so it's not going to happen too often. It just would have been a little better if you had like 3 Engravers and then like 2 Tracked, just so that I guess your hands are more, I don't know, like a little better, because again, I really hate drawing like these cards when you already have a normal summon in your hand. But yeah, a very minimalistic Tenpai Dragon engine, which again, I can absolutely appreciate. So yeah, again, another very good deck list. Ryzeal, very standard, very boring, I don't care. And we're gonna go into the Aichi whatever tournament now. Okay, so this one had 128 teams, which means 384 players, which is the equivalent of like a YCS in South America or something, or like a regional in, I don't know, like a Toronto or like a North US or something. I'm not even, maybe, I don't know. Okay, Ryzeal, another very boring deck list, so I don't really care, but main deck summon limit is interesting, and Donner Dagger for hire so that you can clear your own Nibiru or the Nibiru token that your opponent gives you. Okay, sure. And then artifacts, Lancia with no way of searching it because he's not playing the Archfiend Seraph. So Malice, I can understand why Malice is doing better, because people are respecting Malice less and less and less. There's no Nialis, no Chaos Hunter, no Archfiend Seraph, so there's really just the unsearchable 3 of Artifact Lancia, because I think in the TCG, people are going to be playing 9 Artifact Lancias, you know, 3 7th Tachyon, 3 7th Ascension, 3 Lancia with the Archfiend Seraph in order to reveal it so that you can search Lancia, and then potentially the Chaos Hunter and the Melchimen Nialis, so that you have like infinite ways of beating Malice. That deck is going to be the buy next format, once we get Maze of the Master. Okay, Pride Blue Eyes, this also got first place alongside this guy, because obviously it's a team, so Ryzeal and 2 Pride Blue Eyes players, which is awesome. Again, I keep saying that Blue Eyes is a top tier deck in the OCG, and people don't believe me, but the results speak for themselves. It's not just a casual, for fun deck. It has a lot of starters, 15 to be precise, and a lot of space for non-engine, so 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, 15, 16 hand traps, as well as 15 starters, 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, but obviously another barrel and Lurely Load, all they really do on their own is like 2 interruptions, which is still fine. It's Seal and Drill Beam, but then you have like an infinite recursion game. Like you just keep looping the exact same interruptions again and again and again, and you develop more resources, and if you draw like another barrel and Sage, or like Maiden, or Prayers, your combo is like Exodia. You can't lose. No Crimson Dragon into the Cosmic Blazar combo in here, which again, I can absolutely respect, because it means that you open up your extra deck to being able to play just more cards. I do believe that Spirit has to be played as a 3 of, because you run out of Spirits like really quickly. But I guess he is playing the Ultimate Fusion so that you can shuffle them back in order to make the Tyrant Dragon. So that's the reason why he's playing 2 Tyrants and only 2 Spirits, just so that he can fit in cards like Imduck, so they can make an SP Lone Knight using a normal monster. And then he can also play cards like Baron de Fleur, which usually we don't really see. And he can also play some other utility cards like Black Rose, Moonlight Dragon. And this card right here, by the way, the Synchro after the Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, this card is insane. You can destroy multiple spells and traps on the field when it's summoned off of the Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. And also, when it dies, you set any spell or trap, I believe, from your graveyard to your field, but you can't use it unless you control a normal monster. Fantastic target for Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. Okay, the side deck has 2 Chaos Hunter, but no Artifact Lancia, which usually we see Lancia before people start playing Chaos Hunter, so that's interesting. We're seeing a second Drill Beam, which I honestly kind of disagree with. For me, it would be the one of Roar, just because if you draw it and you have like Drill Beam access, you can at least use Roar. Even if you have a monster on the field, you get it to the grave or you discard it off of prayers, and then you can use the graveyard effect. So when your opponent's normal summons a monster, you banish the Roar, and then target your Blue Eyes. It has 3,000 attack, so you can banish any monster on the field with 3,000 or less attack, if I recall correctly, and it doesn't target. So it's really annoying, and it just punishes people for normal summoning monsters. So that's actually kind of filthy. And yeah, a lot of going second cards and 2 judgments with 1 skill drain and the side deck. So those are the 3 going first cards of choice that he's bringing in, and I guess he's probably siding out I don't know, 1 Ogre, 2 Nibiru, or maybe he's keeping them, I don't know. But yeah, this deck can't really afford the luxury of playing cards like a Cross Out, because I don't know, you really need, I mean, you can, but it doesn't really like hard lose to hand traps too much, and you really need to play a lot of hand traps if you want to be able to win going second. So yeah, it kind of plays by the different set of rules than the other decks. Okay, another Primate Blue Eyes deck, but this is the exact same because obviously these guys are partners, so that's the reason why the deck list is card for card the same actually. 3 Imperm, 1 Dominus Purge. Yeah, everything else is identical. I mean, everything is identical. Okay, this is also extremely similar as the deck list that got first place, I think. Summon Limit main deck. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so this is actually a trend. Everybody's doing this now. And the best way to kind of copy this in the TCG is by playing Thrust and 1 D-Bearer. So that if you go first and you're facing a mirror match, you Thrust into D-Bearer. But I don't really think this makes too much sense, because if you face Malice, then you're gonna get punished for that. So yeah, the one of Summon Limit, it's extremely random because there's no way of searching it, so it's not like D-Bear with Rust. But whatever, I guess you can kind of say, oh, it's a good card if you go first, and going second, you half break the board, and then you Summon Limit on the crackback, and then they don't really do too much. And then next turn, you X-Rays, you'll dump Aggregator, negate your own Summon Limit, and then you pop off. I guess, whatever. The side deck, whatever, I don't care. Ryzeal, again, another Summon Limit in the main deck, and then Ryzeal again, but no Summon Limit. A lot of hand traps here, 4, 7, 8, 10, 13, 15, 18, and then we're still seeing like talent and stuff, 5, okay, a lot of starters as well. Okay, so this is consistent, but yeah, no, there's still like no difference between each deck list. It's honestly the exact same. Malice, very boring, very standard. Malice again with the template skipper. This one didn't play it, and the Code of Soul is actually being popularized. Like, a lot of people are actually starting to play this card now, which I don't really like too much. I don't really think it's needed for anything. You send it off of Terahertz, and then you can link into either Firewall Dragon on the opponent's turn, or the Hearts of Cryptor, which is obviously an extremely good card. Okay, this is Ryzeal again, I don't care, and then Primate Blue Eyes with the one of Magnamote, so that you can end phase search another barrel, and then you got yourself, I guess, somewhat of a one-card starter. You don't have to play Druid's Worm because you already play dragons in your deck. It's kind of like the one of Magnamote and 10 by Dragon. You search again Roku and then effect, and then you generate so much advantage on your opponent's turn, and then when it's your turn, then you can do so much. It's crazy. Fiendsmith, Azamina, White Forest. This is a very interesting deck that I've started to see more often in the OCG. It's pretty good. There is a lot of, I mean, not really of one-card starters, but kind of, actually. Like Sylvia, whatever, this is a one-card starter now. Deception doesn't, I mean, the Azamina engine doesn't really bridge into the White Forest cards, because you're not playing Snake Eye cards, so it's not like you can go, okay, sprint into whatever, and then, you know, Snake Eye, transform, and then revive back the Stellar, but you can still at least go Fiendsmith combo, and then you have like the Fiendsmith thing and the Omni Negate, the Ilya, Sylvia, whatever. So you're still always doing something, and it plays a decent amount of non-engine cards as well, like 2, 4, 7, 9, 10, 13. 13 hand traps with 2 board breakers, and then some Call by the Graves, and yeah, well, like I said, a lot of consistency cards in a way, because there's LZ, there's the Stellar that's only being played as a one-of, because you also have Sylvia as your starter, normal summon, and then yeah, the one Witch, the one Wanted, etc., whatever, and then the Fiendsmith cards. The Snake Eye cards are absolutely not worth playing. Like, even if original is a thing, you still don't really want to play those cards. They're bricks, and they really just make your deck like super cloggy, very vulnerable to hand traps, so I don't really like them too much. Another Fiendsmith Azamina White Force deck. Not the exact same because this time there was Summon Limit in the main deck. I feel like this card, everybody's starting to main deck it now. It's crazy. Xyz Core, maybe this is for Dweller. I'm not 100% sure. This deck semi-loses to Dweller. Yeah, in a way. Okay, Memento. This also have Xyz Core for Dweller with Forbidden Droplet. It doesn't play like too much non-engine, obviously, because you do have to focus on consistency. It's a good deck. It's a very resilient deck going first. It doesn't really have too many problems with getting your engine started, especially when you're playing 3 Darkblade and 3 Anguish and 3 Horse. And if you draw like Darkblade and a Horse, it's guaranteed that you beat like an Imprimer Veiler. But if you have like Anguish and a Horse, then you lose to an Imprimer Veiler on your Horse, but not on your Witch. So yeah, obviously if you go normal summon the Anguish first and then your opponent imprims it, it is Happy Land City for you. But if he doesn't, then there's nothing to search. Like, you're gonna search the Sleepy, and then you special summon the Horse effect, you get imprimed there, and then if you don't have the Fusion or the Bone Party, then all you can really do is Fiendsmith combo, which I am not seeing here. So in other words, you can't do anything because none of your monsters was destroyed this turn, so you can't go for Sleepy effect, which means that you're basically passing turn doing jack shit. Okay, Fiendsmith Labyrinth, which is also not very interesting, so we're just gonna skip this one. I don't really think that anybody's gonna play this. I remember seeing this deck at Worlds, and it was so underwhelming. It felt like so weak. This is pure Tenpai Dragon. Okay, wow. My god, we're seeing basically only non-engine cards with some Tenpai. This is honestly like the name, like the true name of the deck should be non-engine deck featuring a Tenpai engine. It's absolutely absurd. Things are just getting crazier and crazier every single time. Ryzeal again, whatever, and yeah, that's it. Well, 2 field spells actually. Wow, 2 field spells and 2 desires. That explains it, because he didn't want to play 7th Ascension. Maybe because he doesn't want to have too much redundancy, which I guess I can understand. But if you draw like 7th Tachyon and 7th Ascension, you just go 7th Tachyon, shuffle back, well, I mean, place back the 7th Ascension on the top of the deck, you get your starter, and it doesn't really matter too much. The issue is when you draw like way too many of them, then you have like some dead cards in your hand. But if you draw like 7th Ascension and even double desires, it's not too bad. You go for this first, you place one of the desires on the top of the deck, and then you get your starter, and then you play, and then at the end you use your desires. So this combos very well with this, whereas it doesn't combo off with 7th Ascension. The only drawback with 2 desires is that you gotta play the second field spell, because if you banish this, your deck kind of sucks, unfortunately. And the TCG people have like a FTK mentality. They don't really care about their grind game. They really just care about like their turn 1 end board. So they only play 1 field spell because they want their deck to be as consistent as possible, play as few bricks as possible, because the field spell actively does nothing on its own. So if you draw like field spell plugin and 0 Ryzeal starters, you lose the game. Like the worst kind of hand in Ryzeal would be field spell plugin, node Ryzeal, and 2 hand shops. That way you know for a fact that you've lost. Or like Plasma Hole, for example, and then a hand shop. That way you have one way to defend yourself and no way of applying pressure. It is absolutely pathetic. And yeah, Metal Chonus in the side deck, which I have started seeing a little more often. It's definitely a decent card. Yeah, it's not too bad. It deals with the Ryzeal Detonator that has a Twins of the Eclipse underneath, so definitely a good card. But then again, you can argue that you can just play Xyz Core, which, yeah, it does give, like, advantage to your opponent because the Sword Ryzeal can search, not the X, because your opponent will control a non-level or rank 4 monster on the field, because obviously Xyz Core decreases the level by 1. And then there's Ultimate Slayer, but it does play into Dweller, which you don't really have to be afraid of because nobody's going to Dweller the pure Ryzeal deck. It makes absolutely 0 sense. So honestly, I would actually just do 3 Ultimate Slayer, 1 Metal Chonus. But I still understand why he's playing 3 Metal Chonus. It's just because this card it overlaps as a going first card. So going first, you can side out like the 3 Furos, and then you swap side in the 3 Metal Chonus, and then you also side in the Summon Limit, the 2 the 2 Summon Judgments, and the D-Bearer, and then you side out, I don't even know. I actually have no idea, because you probably want to keep in the consistency cards, you want to keep in the Cross Out and the Call by the Grave. Maybe you side out like 1 Nibiru, and then some hand shops, like some imprims, for example, so that if your opponent even leaves you, at least you don't lose like all of your imprims. But I guess that's kind of like a drawback of playing like Desires and Crossout, but Crossout is just a one-off, so I don't really think it matters too much. Like, you can afford to even not play Crossout at this point if it makes you like deck build worse, if you understand what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's it for this, I was gonna say OCG metagame breakdown video, not really, but kind of. It's just a review of all the deck lists that were being played in some pretty big events, actually. Very interesting things to look at. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.